All right, so Ron wants to know if he should borrow from his 401k to pay off the $50,000 loan he took to put solar panels on his roof. Ron lives in Pennsylvania. My dogs are getting ready to bark. I can see it because someone's walking by. How dare they? So just be advised, if you don't like dogs, now's the time to delete this video from your viewing. What are you doing, Pablo? You guys want to see something? So, oh, now he's looking at me. He knows I'm looking at him. Hi. Hey, guy. So, watch, here he comes. Nope, nope, nope. All right. So let's read what Ron says. He it's such, and Ron and I, we butt heads a lot on YouTube, and that's okay. We're still friendly, if that makes sense. I'm like, just because I disagree with Ron's crazy liberal ways doesn't mean I think Ron's a bad guy. It's like my man Prairie Mark out there. Prairie Mark disagree with his crazy ways doesn't mean I think he's a bad guy either. It's just kind of fun. It's funny actually. We can be silly towards each other without being assholes, if that makes sense. So it's okay. Anyway, so my man Ron, he put solar on his roof last year and had to put in a new heat pump and a mini split. I don't know what a mini split is. Has everything except the amount due. Okay, let's see. $50,000. All right, so he has $50,000 he's got to pay back. He can borrow that from his 401k at 4.5% for 5 years. All right, gotcha. And this is where Ron makes so much sense, man. I wish people could think this the way Ron is, even though his thinking on other things is way off the reservation, way beyond the pale. If you just wanted something of interest, you know what beyond the pale means, actually? You should look it up about the Irish. It's very interesting. All right, so my man Ron says, my thinking is at the moment, with a mess in the markets, I can de-risk my portfolio 100%. He's getting it. By taking the loan out of my 401k and thus pay interest to myself instead of a bank, thus turning my portfolio from a 60-40 target date fund to basically a 4.5% guarantee. Yeah, 100%, man. So just one other thing real quick. I hope he has a battery bank. I was talking to a guy yesterday, nice guy, who also got rooftop solar. Just as an FYI, a second FYI, if you want rooftop solar, I'm going to get rooftop solar in my downsized retirement house. Absolutely. The number one contingent is you got to make sure you're facing south, that your rooftop is south facing. That's a huge win. So when I shop for my downsized retirement home, we're going to be looking at southward facing rooftop, if that makes sense. It's a big deal. Actually, my preference, Frank, would not even get rooftop, would be ground-based, because ground-based is a hell of a lot more efficient. But at the end of the day, if you have a ground basis, it makes it less of what you can grow, but not necessarily. You see lots of people growing stuff under their solar panels on their ground, which is interesting. Now, again, solar is never going to freaking power. Again, I'm using power for just electricity here. I'm not even talking the overall energy use, but solar is never going to power what we need. It's not. It's silly. But it could empower you to run a heat pump? Sure. Absolutely. Could empower you to run the air conditioner? Sure. If it's grid tied, though, that's bad. You don't want to be grid tied. You want to have, well, I mean, you're going to be grid tied, but you want a transfer switch so when the grid goes down, you can turn it on to run off your battery power. That people don't understand this drives me crazy. All right, so just remember, grid tied, what that means is when the grid goes down, you go down with it. Why? Because linemen are out there trying to fix the grid. And if you're still running electricity and you're pumping it back into the grid, the linemen are going to get electrocuted. Thus, the grid shuts you off. And that's the nice thing about being with a battery bank, with a transfer switch, is that you say, shoot, transfer, I'm not using the grid, I'm going off grid off my batteries. But that means you have to have batteries. Now, batteries are not going to power you for days and days and days, probably 2 days. But you want a battery bank. I told you my dogs will start barking, did I not? Luckily, it's on sec. All right, so I calculated how much it's going to cost Ron to pay back. It's going to be basically $950 a month to pay that $50,000 loan at 4.5% interest. So we take our simple calculator, $950 times 60. He's going to pay himself back $57,000. So we know for a fact when he wakes up in 5 years from now, he'll have solar panels that he paid for tax-free, all right, and he'll have $57,000 in his 401k. That's a very minimum. We know that for a fact. Why? Because he's paying himself that 4.5% interest, not the bank. Now, he didn't get the solar panels free. He had to pay $50,000 for it, but we fast forward 5 years, he has 57,000 plus solar panels. Now, at the end of the day, what if he got about 4% rate of return? All right, so remember, he's paying himself $950 a month, or you basically divide that by 2 because you're going to have 24 payments or 26 payments, depending on how many weeks you get paid. They're going to divide it up per payment. So each paycheck he'll have to pay himself back that 401k. I don't know why more people don't borrow against their 401k. It's nuts. Anyway, so I'm just using it for simplicity. We say $950 a month is what our payment is. We have 0 future value. We'll just say 5% rate of return for simplicity. 60 payments. What's our future value? $64,874, $875 to be specific if we round up. So he'll have made $15,000 if he averaged 5% a year. All right, so he will have borrowed $50,000 from his 401k. Finn. He'll have rooftop solar, and he'll wake up, if he got 5% a year, 5 years from now, with $65,000. That's 100% a way to de-risk your portfolio, to basically sell the shares while the shares are up in order to buy something else. 100%. Now, could the shares keep going up? Sure, we don't know. But that's what he's looking at. Conversely, if he didn't do that, if he just, for simplicity, let's say he left the money in his 401k, $50,000, present value, 0 payment, and he's going to have, we'll say he got 5% a year interest, 60, and he'd have $64,000. Let me just make sure I got that right. Yeah, $64,000. Right, $60,000, $50,000 is his present value, 5% interest, 5 years. Yeah, $64,000. All right, so I'm not going to say he's going to do better, because if he didn't use the 401k, in theory, that money could grow even more if the markets did better than 5%. All that stuff, I get it. What I'm just saying is, at the end of the day, the risks to doing this are pretty simple. One, the markets could go up more than 4.5% or whatever. So basically what's happening is, you're saying, I'm taking money off the table, going to guarantee myself at least a 4.5%, and I won't have the money in the market if the markets continue to go on a transit or to the northeast and make higher returns than what I'm paying myself, essentially. On the entirety of the $50,000, $50,000 is gone. It will no longer make whatever the market is doing. But that also means it can no longer go down either, my friends. A lot of people overlook that. Say the markets can still go down. Don't you forget. 2 things about the markets. They go up, they go down. So he's de-risking. What also means he's allowing himself further growth. Well, I'm okay with that. If you think the markets are at a high point, that makes sense. Part 2 is he could quit, get laid off or something like that. But he's 59 now, so if he were to leave before 5 years, he won't have to pay a 10% penalty on the money he did not pay back into the 401k. He just got to pay income tax on it. Well, hell's bells. You got to pay income tax anyway, man. So when I borrowed from my 401k and I left USA, before I paid that sucker back, I had to pay. So I borrowed $50,000. I think when I left, I still owed $33,000 outstanding. So I had to pay penalty on that $33,000. I did not pay it back. Hey, that's a 10% penalty. It cost me $33,000. That cost me $3,300. And then on top of that, I had to pay income tax on that. Hey, hold on a sec. In that case, I had to pay income tax on that money as well. So I had to pay $3,300 in a penalty, and we'll just say 12% income tax, if it even that, because I wasn't making any money in that year. That year, I was freaking broke, dude. You know what I'm saying? So in that case, it didn't really kill me, but it could have. I mean, it could have for sure. Depends on your situation. Just remember, that's a negative. There are 2 negatives on this. If you leave before you pay it back, you're going to have to pay the taxes immediately upon separation from service, and potentially a penalty if you're under the age of 59 and a half. That's a negative. And part 2 is, when you borrowed against the 401k, that amount you're borrowing is inherently out of the market, which means it won't grow with the market returns. That could be bad, that could be good. It depends on what the markets do. But in this case, he wakes up, he's got $60,000 or something like that in his account. after 5 years and he's got solar panels on there and he's out of the market, either, come hell or high water, I think it's good movement. I'm surprised more people don't do it. But, you see these YouTube channels, never borrow against your 401k. I actually talk about it in my book, I don't have it here. Strategic Money Planning. I talk about the benefits of borrowing from your 401k to pay off debt. So anyway, hope this helps. Love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you.